I'll just be crying and I wouldn't even know why I'm crying. And there was one of my sisters that I told about the situation, that she was the one that I would just call whenever I'm having those moments. I'm just like, okay, sis, I don't know what is happening right now, but just pray for me. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new here, my name is Maria and welcome to A Journey of Faith with Maria T. So if you're all about encouragement when it comes to walking this journey of faith as a Christian, then do be sure to subscribe and join us on this journey. So you guys will already be able to tell from the title of today's video that I will be sharing one of my testimonies, just sharing about a season, a period that I went through of silent tears and secret battles. Anyone that knows me personally will know that this is definitely something that is way outside of my comfort zone, but it's definitely something that God has been speaking to me about and has just been saying, share this part of your journey, just share this part of your story, as it will help and bless someone else. So even if it's just one person, then I just pray that whoever needs to hear this and whoever needs to be encouraged by this is able to receive this word. So I just want to remind anyone as well that may kind of be in a dark season that there is light at the end of the tunnel, because when I was going through this season, honestly, it didn't feel like there was light at the end, but there is, by the grace of God. So stay encouraged. So let's get right into it and let me take you guys on a journey, okay? So let's go right back to 2017. 2017 for me was a year of learning. It was a year of growing. It was a year of developing. It was really a year where I was getting to know more about myself. It was a year that I was enjoying my period of singleness, okay? I was really enjoying my period of singleness, and I was going on that journey, and that's when I started my blog in 2017, called Do Better Every Day, and that's where I was basically kind of sharing what I was learning on this journey so that others can grow with me, you know? So that was 2017, pretty much the whole of 2017. And then the first half of 2018 was the same. I was learning, I was growing, and to be quite honest, I was in a good place, you know? Mentally, emotionally, I was in a good place. Spiritually, I was in a good place. So the second half of 2018 now came, and yeah, like there were just so many new things that were happening in my life. So there was just so much change happening, so many new things happening. And I then got involved or got into a situation. So for me at the time, obviously, it just kind of felt like, okay, like obviously there's all these new things happening in my life. Maybe this one is, you know, something that is new, is, you know, it's that time, you know. So it was quite exciting. It was, you know, everything looked good, I'll be very honest. And yeah, I got involved in that situation, and for me personally, anything that I'm gonna go into, for me, it's like, it's not something that I just take lightly. So for me, I knew that, okay, well, you know, if God doesn't say yes to this, then I'm obviously not going to go all the way through with the situation. So at this point, I said to God, like, okay, God, like, I'm giving you like 3 months. Can you imagine? I was giving God 3 months to speak to me and just tell me if this situation was for me or not. So I basically was in the situation, but it was kind of like, God, until you say yes, until you say no, obviously we're not going to move forward in this. So God started to show me so many revelations. He started to show me all these things, which was clearly showing me that, okay, no, daughter, this is not what I have for you, that I have something else for you and has something else for, you know, that as well. So the weirdest thing at the time was that although God was showing me these revelations, it's like for the first time in my life, it was just so unclear. Like, it was like I would have this revelation, but a part of me would be like, could it mean this, or could it also mean that? And it's like my flesh wanted me to believe the other thing, that it was not what God was actually saying. So for, yeah, I would say like 2 months, it was kind of like revelation upon revelation, and me kind of being like, okay, God, you haven't really said no for sure. So, you know, let me still kind of go on with this. Don't be like me, guys, and yeah, don't be like me. Honestly, the best thing is to just from the very, very beginning, just get the clarity you need from God, rather than, yeah, going forward in something that God hasn't even spoken about. So for the 3 months, basically, again, it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, God, I'm waiting for you to really speak clearly and just let me know what it is. And I kept on during this time, I kind of started to notice that it was becoming a bit of a struggle for me to pray. It was becoming a bit of a struggle for me to read my word, and you know, all of the spiritual disciplines, it was becoming a bit difficult for me. And obviously at the time it really affected me badly, because it was like, as much as I was trying to pray to God, it was a struggle. It was a struggle. So in this period of my life, when it comes to the fruit of the spirit, let's just say that it started to become less evident, okay? And I just started to realize that, nah, like something is not right. Now, I'll be very honest, like in the physical, everything was good. Like everything seemed so good. Like there was nothing that I could really say that, nah, like this is, no, like I'm gonna run away from this. Like there was nothing really out there to make me feel like this is bad or it's toxic or anything. So one thing I learned in that season was that just because something is good does not mean that it is a God thing for you, right? So although it may have been a good situation, it wasn't what God had planned for me. So it got to a point where it was just kind of like, okay, God, like I just don't have peace about this. I just don't seem to have joy about this. But okay, cool. Still got some more time with this 3-month mark. So it got to a day now where I was literally listening to a sermon by Sarah Jakes Roberts, and she was just talking about like purpose. I can't even remember what she was saying, guys, to be honest, but she was saying something, and I just remember that it hit my spirit. Like what she was saying hit me so deep that I was just like, God, I know that this is you speaking. Like I can't even deny that this is you speaking. And it was like, from what I was hearing from that sermon, it was clear to me that no, this is not the path for you. This is not the way for you. But again, just being human and just, you know, kind of being in the flesh at that time, it was kind of like, okay, God, but I'm not really in the situation. Like, it's not really, you know, I don't even have to explain it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So we kind of, you know, distanced in terms of the proper situation, but at the same time, I wasn't fully out of it. Now, the months kept going by, and it just really got to a point where it was just kind of like, okay, no, like, I just don't have peace about this at all. Like, my peace just feels like it has gone. And it was just one of those things as well, where it was like, everyone else that is in the situation, right, is okay. Like, why do I feel like I'm struggling? Like, why do I feel like my peace is gone? Why do I feel like emotionally and mentally this is just so draining? So fast forward, it got to a point where it was just kind of like, God, like enough is enough. Like I cannot mentally or emotionally take this anymore. Like you need to get me out of this. And obviously it's just not good for anyone that is involved. Like, let's just get this done so we can know what is what and everyone can just kind of move forward. So it got to a point where literally, like, with a mighty hand, like God had to literally just kind of drag, you know, me out of the situation. And, you know, without going into too much details with that, but even during the situation as well, like I just remember that I would find myself just crying sometimes. Like I would just be crying and I wouldn't even know why I'm crying. And there was one of my sisters that I told about the situation, that she was the one that I would just call whenever I'm having those moments. I'm just like, okay, sis, I don't know what is happening right now, but just pray for me. Just pray for me, and she will pray for me. But apart from that, like literally no one even knew that I was going through this. No one really even knew that I was crying these silent tears, secret battles, until kind of like near the end, where a few people that are closer to me, then I kind of told them the situation. So that kind of went by, and this was now 2019. So I just felt like, do you know what, obviously, you know, what's happened has happened, and you know, the best thing right now is for everyone to kind of just move forward into what God has for each person. So I kind of started to go forward, do whatever, and it was a very busy year for me. So 2019 was a year where so many of my sisters were getting married from church. I was traveling so much, work was so busy, and it was also the year that I launched my business. So you guys can imagine that there was so much happening, so much going on, that I never really took time to just sit down and deep the situation, right? Or just sit down and just kind of take that time to just deal with it, you know? I kept on going like everything was normal. And the crazy thing is that things were not okay. Like I thought that things were okay. Things were not okay, guys. And the maddest thing of it all is that a lot of the time when we are broken, we don't even know that we are broken. So went through the whole of 2019 pretty much just getting on with life. Things were good. I won't even lie to you guys, like, it was a good year, okay? Like, sis was doing a lot, but there was something missing, and I knew that. For me, I just knew that, nah, like, this is just not right. Like, me and God right now are not really, you know, and I just kind of felt that thing inside of me that was just kind of letting me know that, listen, you need to reconnect. You need to reconnect. So end of 2019, as we all do, you know, reflecting and just thinking about how the year went and all of that stuff. And for me, like, I didn't really even write down many things when it comes to plans and goals for 2020. For me, my main thing, for 2020 was that, God, I need to reconnect with you, because right now, I just feel that void. Right now, it's just not it. Like, right now, I don't even feel stable. That's how I felt at the time. And that was my goal. Pretty much, like, that was the goal. 2020, Lord, it's all about me reconnecting with you. So, started the year now, first day of 2020. Spiritual warfare hit me. Guys, it just felt like attacks were coming at me left, right, center. I just felt attacked. In my mind, I just felt attacked. I felt like I was being oppressed. So many thoughts were just coming at me. And it was just so crazy. I was just like, what is happening to me, God? Like, this is when I said, I want to move closer to you. Why is all of this happening? And I just remember the first 7 days of the year, they did like a 7-day night vigil at my church. So I was attending, but even then, it just felt like I was praying, but even then it was just like all these attacks on my mind. It was so crazy, guys. And the crazy thing with going through such things as this is that no one even knows you're going through it, because it's internal. So if you don't tell anyone, then no one will literally know. So for the first few months, honestly, I just was pretty much suffering in silence, because I didn't really tell anyone. I didn't even really quite understand what was happening. I just thought that, nah, like, what is going on? Like, this is just mad. Like, but at the back of my mind, or at the front of my mind even, I was just thinking that, okay, God, like, Sha, you're going to help me through this, right? So kept on going now, and then March hit. And for those that live in the UK will know that March is when the UK first went into lockdown. So for me, as much as obviously the lockdown was quite a difficult period for many, like, for me, this was such a blessing in disguise. It was like, okay, God, this is like the perfect time for me to finally now have that time, take that time to just spend me and you alone. So at that time, I just randomly came across, I say random, but it wasn't random, guys, trust me. I came across a ministry called Obedience, and they were doing this thing called 12 by 12. And it was literally 12 a.m. prayers every single day and 12 p.m. Bible study every single day during the whole lockdown. So I think this was like for a period of maybe, let's say, 3 months. So every single day, like, without fail, I was joining these 12 a.m. prayers. I was joining this 12 p.m. Bible study. And I was just like, no, like, I'm determined. Like, this is hard, but I'm determined to get through this, because I don't even know what is happening to me right now. And I can't even open my mouth to tell anyone. And I think I told like 1 or 2 people like close to me during the time, and even them, they couldn't understand what I was going through. So as much as it was like, okay, I'm telling you about this battle that I'm fighting, it was still a secret battle, because no one could quite understand it. So it was still felt like I was going through this alone. So kept going now, and obviously things started to get better, because I was now able to pray more by myself. I was able to study my word by myself again. And yeah, it was just kind of like, okay, cool, God. Wasn't getting as much oppression as much as well, which was good, thank God. But it was just like there was still so many things happening. I was still getting attacked. Like, the attacks just did not stop. Honestly, guys, through the whole 2020, like, it was just attack. So obviously now I'm in this dark place, and I'm just kind of like, God, what is happening? I'm praying. But even though I'm praying, I wasn't hearing anything back from God. God was silent. God was silent. And guys, it scared me, because I was just like, God, like, you're not hearing me right now. Like, I'm calling on you. I'm praying. I'm asking. I'm seeking you. And you're quiet. So to be fair, like, obviously at this point, like, my faith was, you know, quite weak. So it was just kind of like, I don't even know, like, obviously thank God for Obedience, because they were obviously praying as well. And they used to do this thing where you would just kind of drop your prayer request, whatever you're going through. So at least I was able to drop that in there, and I knew that there were people praying for me. So kept on going, and then one day I remember getting a phone call from an auntie from my church. Ooh, so obviously by this point, it was just kind of like, God, like I was questioning, like, God, do you even love me? Times for me to question that was like mad. It was mad to me. I was just like, nah, like that's when I knew that, normal, like literally this is not normal. Like what I'm going through is not normal because these thoughts are just mad. So when this phone call came from my auntie from church, she was just like, okay, God gave me a dream about you, blah, 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 blah. And God was like, I should pray for you. So obviously, sis is like, please, yes, please pray for me because I knew I needed prayer. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, auntie prayed for me. And then at the end of the prayer, she was like, God loves you. Guys, I started to cry like a baby. You know when it's just like, like I was crying. Like even auntie was feeling sorry for me because she didn't know what I was going through entirely, but she could just see that it was something that was paining me. And up until this time, it was very much silent here. So even from like the whole January through to, I would say like, yeah, May, yeah, probably like till May, there was a lot of silent tears. So I just remember like there'll be times where I'll just be in my room alone and I'll just be crying. And sometimes I wouldn't even know why I'm crying. And it was just so painful. It was like, I was just so down inside. And I just remember sometimes when I was crying, like I'll just be led to just start writing. Like I'll just be typing on my phone some of the things that were coming in my mind. And I've written, like, I've turned that into a blog post, which I will release soon. But I would literally just be crying. So this was the first moment where I was actually able to just cry out loud and to just release all of the like tears. I just cry, like just cry. I don't even care. Like I was just crying, guys, honestly. So after that phone call, obviously things kind of started to change because at least my perspective started to change. Like, and guys, trust me, like a lot of the time it's actually perspective when it comes to going through these dark seasons. My perspective started to change. So I started to become much more hopeful that, okay, do you know what? Okay, if you love me, God, then, I mean, surely you will help me, right? To get through this season, like, or at least give me understanding of what's happening, right? So I know what to do. So kept going now. And then I was on one of the team obedience calls. And there was a guy who came and he was giving prophetic words. And me, I was like, oh, God, Shabi, you're not speaking to me directly. At least speak, you know, to me through your son, okay? So I was there praying like, okay, God, let him just say my name. Let him say my name. Then he goes, Maria? I said, yeah. This guy literally started to basically say everything about the season that I was in. He started to basically just say what I'm going through. And it was like that you're in a dark place, but, you know, when you come out of this wilderness season, that you're going to share your experience with other people. And that's when I was like, wilderness. Like I'd always heard about wilderness season from, you know, the Israelites going through the wilderness and Jesus being tempted in the wilderness, but I never quite thought of it in terms of us going through a wilderness season ourselves. So obviously for me, it was just kind of like, okay, cool. Like I need to know and understand what this wilderness season is about because I need to know how to get through this wilderness season because it's not nice, okay? And even up to this point, guys, I started to doubt a lot. I started to doubt many things because I started to question literally everything. I started to question my purpose. I was like, God, I thought I knew what my purpose is. Now I just feel lost. I started to question even my business to the point where I was like, nah, God, maybe I didn't hear right. Maybe I should just close it. Like I was at a point of thinking to close it. And I just started to question so much that, Lord, like what is happening? Like, this is just not right. It just doesn't make any sense. Nothing makes sense to me anymore. And it was just such a dry season, guys. And I started to, you know, Google like what's wilderness season and, you know, how does this apply to me? And I started to watch all of these different videos about the wilderness and it was just kind of like, rah, this is exactly what I am going through. Like I am in the wilderness season and, you know, the wilderness season, when we think about it, it's not a season whereby it's not an enjoyable season, but for me it was just kind of like, God, at least I know where I am right now. Like at least I'm able to discern the season that I am in. So from that point it was just kind of like, okay, cool, like I know where I am. And I was watching all these videos which were really helping me and just kind of making me understand what I need to do. And obviously during that time I was just being tested so much. It was like one test after another. It was like I would get tested and then, you know, I would get through that test and then it's like another test. And for such a long period of just test upon test upon test. And I was also dealing with temptations at the same time, and also just dealing with my heart. Oh my gosh, guys. So God started to reveal to me my heart, and oh my gosh, it was not nice. It was not nice. God started to show me what was in my heart, and it was just not nice, literally. And he started to, you know, I had to start working by, you know, through it one by one. And then after kind of finding out that I was in this wilderness season, then God started to speak to me again. Oof, thank you, Jesus. So as God started to speak, he then basically said to me, I want you to start a YouTube channel. And I was just thinking, me, YouTube. What is my business with YouTube, please? He said, I need you to start a YouTube channel. And that's literally how this channel started. I went through that season, I went through that period, a very painful period, and God gave me purpose through my pain. And he was like, I'm giving you this channel. So I definitely don't take this channel lightly. And obviously, going back to what the guy had said from the word, he reminded me that I want you to share some of your experience in the wilderness. So that's definitely going to be some upcoming videos, just sharing some of the things that I went through in the wilderness season. But just kind of going back to the story, like, it was a long journey. Like, sometimes it just felt like it wasn't going to end. Honestly, it was like one thing after another. And like I said, the battles just did not end throughout the whole 2020. And it was like I was just fighting constantly. I was just fighting constantly. And then it got to a point where I was just kind of like, God, like, this is just too much for me. Like, I genuinely don't feel like I can do this and get through this. And God had to remind me that, listen, I sent my son Jesus and he's already won the battle. The battle has already been overcome. And I was like, raw, like, I genuinely don't have to fight this battle alone. I don't have to go through this alone. Yes, it might be a secret battle, but I don't have to go through it alone. And that changed things. Like, it didn't necessarily mean things were easy, but it was so much easier because I knew that I wasn't fighting by myself. I didn't even have to fight. So it was a very, very interesting period. And I say interesting meaning, you know, there was highs and lows, but I learned so much during that time, and I'll definitely be sharing more about what I learned on this channel by God's grace. And I just want to use it to encourage anyone that may be going through it, because honestly at that time it was just kind of like, nah, like, this is just a lot. And I just remember I was like, okay, I'm rededicating my life back to Christ, like. And yeah, just went through a whole long season of unlearning, relearning, like things that I'd literally grown up believing. Like, I had to just unlearn all of those things again. I'm just here to encourage whoever may be at that place right now. You may be at that initial stage that I was, where maybe you feel like you're in a situation you can't get out of, or maybe you're going through a period in the wilderness, or maybe you're going through a season of healing, because let's just be real, like, that period of healing is as painful. Like, it even felt more painful than the initial situation that I was in, guys. And it's not a nice thing, like, especially even just seeing the condition of your heart and dealing with that, dealing with guilt, dealing with shame, me having to deal with the fact that I had been disobedient to God. It's not easy, but it's definitely possible to get through. Because one thing I do know is that if it wasn't for God, if it wasn't for my Lord and Savior Jesus, I definitely would not have been able to go through it. So stay encouraged, guys. Honestly, like, just because you might be going through the tunnel, it's not the end. There's so much more on the other side by the grace of God. So guys, I hope that it has blessed somebody. I hope that it has encouraged anyone that may need it. And yeah, just stay tuned. Make sure, if you haven't, that you subscribe. Make sure you like this video if you found it helpful. And that's the end of today's video, guys. I hope that it has blessed somebody. I'm just going to leave you guys with a scripture on the screen that God gave me during that period, which I really held on to during the difficult times, and which I really stood upon to help me get through that season. So I hope it encourages you too. And until next time, guys, peace out and God bless. See you in my next video.